put that away.
It's okay. Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Dave, and today I'm joined by BJ Hensley. Kind of like a hired gun around the web when it comes to RPGs. You also have your own company. What is it? Playground Adventures as
Mm-hmm.
well, which is kind of like Pathfinder and D&D, but for kids.
Yes,
Which is
absolutely.
super cool. I think that's how I first kind of connected with you and discovered you.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so. I think uh, was that maybe because I did Satine's GM tips thing.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think, yeah, I thought so.
A lot of people, because a lot of people ask us about gaming with kids and the family. Um, so it's definitely cool to see different takes on that.
It's true, and I think I've been on here a few times on gaming with kids. It's been a while though. I don't think it's
Yeah.
definitely not this year. I think like last year maybe.
Yeah, we had taken a
Something.
break from doing the live chats for a while. Probably like a couple of years. But with everything going on, and we figured everyone's home, locked up.
Yeah,
So why not, break up the
it's
day a little
true.
bit?
I've had a lot of people suggest that I start a podcast. I'm still thinking about it. I don't know. I could probably find the time, but at the same time, I don't know if I have anything to say that people want to see every week. It's a
uh,
lot.
I'm sure. I mean, you've been in the industry for a long time. You've got
It's true.
a lot of wisdom to drop on people.
It's true. Definitely could I could get some guests, I suppose. That would be a thing. My kids are still after me to start a video game live stream because they think there is nothing more hilarious in the world than watching their mom play a video game for the first time, especially if they get to explain how to
Yeah.
play it.
Just
They
Mario Kart and Rainbow Road over and over again.
Oh God, no. No, I hate Rainbow Road. It's
I
so
know.
bad. And my kids are so good at it. It's
Yeah.
unfair because like my 11-year-old is over here kicking my butt and I'm like, whatever. I used to be good at this.
And then they like to just throw you in Rainbow Road just to mess
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, it's true. It's no fun. Yeah, yesterday's endeavor was Minecraft. So I all these years have resisted playing Minecraft because I grew up with those graphics in video games and I don't think it's fair that I should have to play them now. But
Yeah.
my kids are obsessed with it. Like my 24-year-old when it came out was a big thing with him. All the way down to the 11-year-old is still playing it. I'm sure my grandson will be playing it soon. But they finally got me into it this year because they kept complaining so much that I bought them a server. Well, what they didn't tell me when went to buy this was none of them actually know how to use it, so mom gets to figure it out. So I have to be
Ah.
the controller and person to set it all up, which means I actually had to go invest a few minutes into the game. And it was some of the things that happen to me when I'm not paying attention or tired after work and I'm trying to play with them, they find hilarious. For example, I was trying to make something and they were trying to show me how to do it. And I have no experience. So I don't even know how to make a door. And this thing comes up and it's just this little wooden tiny thing I can barely see on the screen. And it says a button. And I'm like, what do you need a button for? What are you going to use that? Y'all just sit around in your spare time sewing buttons on your clothing?
Yeah.
Well, this button was a button. Like you push the button,
Yeah.
but I couldn't tell from the janky little picture. And it just didn't occur to me it was anything but a regular button. I've never seen my kids laugh so hard. They must have rolled around on the floor for 5 minutes before they could even explain to me and be like, no, mom, different kind of button. So they think all those things should be recorded for the world to see because
Yeah.
mom being dumb is very, very funny.
Whenever my kids do anything like that, I'm like, you're the reason some species eat their young.
Mm-hmm. That is probably accurate.
Yeah. When I was grabbing your Instagram link, I saw the grandchild with a giant sword, and
Yes.
they look adorable. And also, you don't look old enough to have any grandchildren, so
I know. People say that all the time. It's just lighting and makeup.
maybe a portrait someplace in your house. I don't know.
Shh.
Yeah.
Supposed to tell people about that.
Yeah, so I'm kind of sad. We haven't connected in a while. I usually run into you at the different conventions and at least get a little
Yeah.
FaceTime to chat. But
It's sad. In fact, I think I saw you, what, Gen Con last year downstairs from Peter's party, right?
yeah, so there was Gen kind of
That's the last time I saw
unplugged.
you,
We
I
usually
think.
run into each other. So
Yeah. Yeah, we usually do same circles, but I haven't gone to a convention. In fact, I think Gen Con might have been my last convention because I didn't go to PAX U last year. I went to Disney World with the family instead. I was like, okay, we can only do so many things, and
yeah,
this is the
yeah,
only time we have. And then when we got back from Disney, from there, everything kept getting canceled because of COVID and the state of the world right now. So I haven't seen a living human being outside my family members that live with me in like 5 months. So
Yeah, I don't even leave I didn't leave my house that much before,
I
but
didn't
now it's
either.
even worse. So, and for a while, me and Ted stopped filming together. We were doing it virtually, and we're back to filming together, but with masks. So now at least I leave my house like once a week.
You
Uh,
film with a mask on. That's pretty cool.
yeah, it is, but the internet does not appreciate it overly
Oh,
much.
really?
Yeah, you get douchey comments about just people that hate masks in general, and the
Well,
whole
those people
yeah
can all kiss my ass.
yeah.
I have an autoimmune disease, and people not wearing masks are killing people like me. And my son downstairs, which is the reason we stay in, he has a lung condition in which he has already got lung scarring. So if he gets COVID, he's got about a 10% chance of living instead of a
Yeah.
10% chance of dying. Also, it really makes me angry because I have a ton of different masks, but these are the masks that I have all the time. So I wore these before COVID. I had to because I have like 80 allergies. So when I go to the
Yeah.
grocery store to do my grocery shopping, it had gotten to the point that just walking through the produce aisle would make me wheeze really bad and could be bad news for me. And so I started wearing them, and no one says anything. Prior COVID, they just assumed you had allergies or cancer or autoimmune issues, whatever, because I do. Now I go out in my yard and people glare at me because I'm wearing a mask while I'm out doing yard work because I'm allergic to grass. Like I break
Yeah.
out in hives allergic to grass. I don't
Oh,
have a
yuck.
choice. And it's really, I think people need to get over it. If you're not going to wear a mask, that's your business, but don't judge people that are wearing
Yeah, that's
masks.
the thing that
Makes
really
me
gets
so
me.
angry.
I mean, it does make me sad because some of the comments are like, "Oh, I didn't realize how much I read lips before, yeah, before you guys started wearing the mask and
That's
stuff
true.
like that."
It's true. So I'm actually hard of hearing, and one of the things that I was concerned about was if we ever get to a place where we can leave home, because until my son can get some kind of vaccine, I have no idea when that will be. But
Yeah.
I was like, well, how am I going to be able to read people's lips? Because a lot of times, especially at places like noisy conventions, that's actually how I know what people are saying. Because I'm not deaf, but I have an auditory processing issue that I can't, if there's multiple noises going on, I can't really differentiate and pick one out. So
I,
that'll be
I'm pretty
interesting.
sure I do not read lips, but I also spent a lot of years working in construction, and the last 10 of them were in with heavy equipment. So yeah, so I don't have the greatest hearing, and definitely like I find like certain frequencies,
Hmm.
like I don't pick up as well. I'm really bad with the
My grandpa was
accents.
like that. He couldn't understand accents, and it was really like we could be talking full volume in front of him, and because of the specific tone of our voice, he couldn't hear you. But I
Yeah.
swear to God, I could be whispering with a friend 3 rooms away, and he'd be like, "What? What was that? What are y'all doing in there?"
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think he had super hearing to go with his near deafness. It was a very confusing thing.
Humans are strange and weird. So
I think the important thing is that humans just learn to love other humans. Like I said, I get very angry when people tell me how to operate my own face.
yeah.
If they don't want to do something, that's fine, but don't judge others. Life is so hard right now. It's so hard for everybody. Why be that way? Be kinder. Gosh, I'm so sorry you've had to deal with that.
Yeah, well, hey, whatever. It just comes with you know what? We've been on YouTube for a while now, so
Mhm.
there's always going to be mean comments. So that now we just give them a target. So make it easy for
Well,
them.
someone's got to be that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the virtual recording wasn't bad. The problem was I'm in my basement and I just can't control the sound down here, and
Oh.
like I would just get so much ambient sound with our recordings because the equipment used for our regular videos is a lot more sensitive, and it just drives me nuts hearing the extra noise.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
I've got a Yeti, but I've got microphones, different various microphones that I can use, but I usually use my Yeti, and from what I understand, I'm told it works out pretty well. But
yeah, the Yeti is good. Maybe we'll try. Maybe we could try the virtual again, and I'll use the Yeti instead of the Rode, which
yeah,
might be too.
the Yeti is good. I have like a boom mic and some other things that I never use because I find they're all too sensitive and they pick up every little tiny noise
Yeah,
I make. So all the money is gone. I mean, it's great for an in-person environment where I've got like the camcorder out and I'm recording something specific, but for these kind of things, they don't seem to work
Even
at all.
like even when we record in person with at Ted's house, he's got like a mini fridge. We have to unplug it, where the microphone picks it up. We
Wow.
cannot hear it, but the microphone, like for a while, we had this humming sound, and we're like, "What is that noise?"
That's crazy. Oh my
Yeah, yeah.
goodness.
So,
Well, it makes sense. I have a fireplace in my office, like a portable
yeah.
fireplace, because I get really cold in the winter due to like my lupus and stuff. And it it has a fan noise, and I don't hear it. But if I'm in a meeting at work or something, sometimes I'll have to shut it off because someone will be like, "What is that noise? It's this
Yeah.
whirring sound," and it's absolutely a thing.
Yeah, so it's,
How that
there's all
works.
kinds of things like that. Oh, and also like the virtual recording is like it'll pick up the fan from my computer or something like that. Yeah, so
I have water cooling to prevent that, so like the fans are so loud on. I have a my new laptop. I got a
uh,
Zephyrus Duo, which looks like, I don't know if you see my Facebook, but my laptop looks like a spaceship. Like I want to play Starfinder every time I open it.
oh
It's
wow. The
it's
say
really cool.
Facebook is a bit of a sore subject
Oh
for
dear.
me.
Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry.
I know. Yeah, well, yeah, you know.
I was there the day it happened. You and I were talking too, and I
Yes.
was like, "Oh, I'll get back to him in a minute." And then I went to get back to you, and you never answered me, and I was like, "Oh gosh, I made him mad or something." He closed his Facebook because I didn't answer him. I don't.
That was it. Yeah, literally, I had reached out to you and a couple of other people, and I was just scheduling people for live chats, and someone hacked. You know, I watched someone in real time hack my Facebook account and
Crazy.
get it banned. And it's like, and it happened like so fast.
Who did you make angry? My goodness.
Yeah, yeah.
Yo,
The internet gods. So it's weird.
the
They're
internet
like my
gods.
hack goes off to them because they're really clever. Like if they delete your account, you can get it back pretty easy. But like
Hmm.
what they do is they go in and they get rid of, they take your phone number off of there, and then they
Ouch.
post like what they do, like one post with a bunch of images that are against terms. And I don't know if Facebook like automatically catches them, or if or if they have to or if they then report it. But either way, then like it instantly bans you, and then you're like, hey, I want to dispute this,
Hmm.
but there's no text or anything to put in. You submit it. It's just like a button, and then Facebook
So,
looks at it, and goes, oh no, that was definitely a bad post, and you're a bad person, and then you're banned for
wow.
life.
Well, how do they get into your Facebook to begin with? Like, how did they
They're hackers. They
just
hack.
guess your password somehow?
so
Or
so I also had two-step authentication on it as well.
wow,
So in real time, I watched them go, "Hey, someone's accessing your account for Germany. Do you want to allow this?" And I'm like, "No," which
no.
didn't do anything at all. So I
Uh,
don't know. So right now, I'm working on trying to get it back, but it's a real hassle because you can't talk to people at Facebook. I've actually had to go kind of like through a side door, back door to even get any kind of interaction. A friend of mine owns a media buy company, so I'm like, well, they probably have a manager for their account,
yeah, that
and then
makes sense. I mean, like, I know people at Facebook, so I would probably just be like, "Hey, what is going
yeah.
on?"
So they keep put they like so they forwarded it to the right department, but all they keep doing is sending me the same stuff that doesn't work. Like I can go
And it
through,
doesn't work because of their policies or whatever.
well, I go through all the way through the process, and it's like, oh, well, you need a phone number attached to your account, and then but it doesn't give me a way to add the phone number to my account, and I can't get into my account. So
Oh no. That's not, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I
uh,
apologize. Well,
you know what? There's much worse things going on in the world. It's
it's true.
a
It's
minor
true. The loss of
inconvenience.
Facebook is not a thing. Honestly, I maybe you're in a better place. Facebook can be
Yeah.
kind of a time sink, and there's so much bad that goes on too,
So
you know.
it's weird though, because like my Facebook account is older than my marriage or my kids.
That's crazy. Yeah, mine is not that.
Yeah,
Well, probably older than my marriage, maybe. I don't know. Than
yeah.
my current marriage. It's possible. I don't think it's quite that old. I know Twitter. I have a Twitter, and everybody's like, "You need to be on Twitter," and I'm like, "No." It's
Yeah.
terrible because I'm a marketing strategist, so I understand the value of Twitter. I understand the value of Instagram. So I'm fully aware of how badly I'm screwing it up. I'm just still not using it. It's like a mechanic in their car, you know. I'm
Yeah,
advising
yeah.
everybody else do the things, but I'm over here going, no, I can't.
Well,
It's hard. It's hard when you get done with a whole day of telling other people and consulting and stuff like that to then come back and be like, yeah, I want to use my own Twitter right now.
also, like, I mean, when people ask me, they kind of like the advice I give them is one, it's really hard to do all the social media and do it well because each
It
one's
is.
their own job,
It's a
right?
time sink. Yeah.
And so I'm like, you're better off just picking the ones you actually like to
Hmm.
hang out in and just work those really hard. You know?
I think I mostly use Facebook. I prefer Facebook. I will say there's a lot of crazy people out there in the world, and I understand a lot of folks have issues on their Facebook page. Now, I do get the sexist, inboxes occasionally, and I have to block people because that's a thing and it's going to happen. But for the most part, people commenting directly on my page are very respectful. The friends and fans that I have on my page have been kind enough to respect my wishes and not have huge arguments or political things going on. I also mostly post happy, positive stuff on my page. I don't, occasionally I'll post, Black Lives Matter or something like that because absolutely you have to support those things to a degree, but I don't get particularly political myself on social media. That might help.
I'd stay out of, kind of the politics stuff for
I try
Nerdarchy,
to.
but my personal page can be a bit of a dumpster fire at times.
Every now and again mine is, but it's
Uh,
not too bad. Like
yeah,
honestly, I feel very blessed that people
I
respect my page
your
enough
page
not
is
to be awful.
your page is one of the ones I miss because you always post cool things like here's a giant dragon head that was just gotten
Here's
for
my kid duct taping my kids and driving them into the other room.
yes.
Will always be funny forever. Every time it comes up, I share it too. I'm like, so yeah, you're not missing a lot. I think my most recent Facebook post regards this morning. So my son is in virtual school. All of my children are, but
Yeah.
my high schooler is in a class called interpersonal relations. And at the very beginning of the interpersonal relations class, the teacher said, shut your microphones and your cameras off, and then spent an hour silent. That was it. That was the whole class for interpersonal
What?
relations.
What was
I was dying. I'm like, if it had been like math or
yeah.
something and they had homework to do, I would have been like, okay, that's stupid. But just the irony of it being the interpersonal relations class that the teacher ignored them for an hour and told them to shut off communications,
And would they
that's
just lecture for
insane.
an hour?
No, nothing. She put up a picture and told them to shut their cameras and mics off, and that was it. It was dead silent. She didn't even come back to say goodbye when she logged out of her class. It just ended. I have no idea what's going on
Well,
over in that
so
school.
is there work they were supposed to be doing or something?
No one knows. And the poor kids, you could see them in the little chat room. They were typing in the chat, hello? Do
Yeah.
we have homework? I don't know if it's like some kind of strange test she's doing, or I don't know. But the
Yeah.
fact that it was interpersonal relations just had me rolling all morning.
Yeah,
I,
maybe it was like a social experiment or something.
maybe like to see what people would do. I really don't know. Maybe she had an emergency. I mean, benefit of the doubt. I know a lot of people would be angry, but
She's
I
binging
gotta laugh.
Netflix.
She's like catching up on my Netflix and chill over here.
Oh man.
That's terrible.
Well,
Yeah, this has been interesting.
one of my favorites is it was like a meme, but it was like a mom's like sees her kid outside playing with the dog instead of in class, and the kid's like, I just put a screenshot up of myself up. There's like 30 kids in the class. The teacher will never know.
That's great. That's so great.
Yeah.
These kids, like if you watch the feeds, it's funny and sad at the same time because some of the kids are just turning their cameras off. You see some kids get up and leave, come back with a bowl of cereal, eat it at
Yeah.
the table. You're like, what are the kids are all typing in chat, hello, can't hear you. I have a question. No one answers them.
Ugh.
I see teachers who are wearing masks, and then I see teachers who have a mask hanging off their ear. You've got kids that are taking mask breaks, so they allow the kids to go out in the hall to take mask breaks, and
Yeah.
they go out and they take their mask off and come back in, and the next person goes out, takes their mask off, and comes back in. And regardless of what you believe about that, it does create like this 15-minute silent void for the virtual schoolers who
Yeah.
can't do they're not having a mask break, but they're not supposed to leave their seats either, so they're going My son has been playing Minecraft in the background. And at first I was like, you can't do that. And then when I realized how severe the downtime was, I was like, you know what? Whatever. My poor daughter, she has her first class is homeroom,
Yeah.
followed by study hall, followed by music, followed by PE. So for the first 4 hours or so of her day, there is nothing. She's been crocheting a blanket. Like you just, I try not to get onto the school because I know it's hard. It's hard for the
Yeah.
teachers. It's hard for the students. It's hard for people there and people at home. Everything is difficult right now. So no judgment. But oh my gosh, it's really funny sometimes because you're like, I feel like I should be parenting and telling you to do something educational. So I'll be like, why don't you read a book? But 4 hours of reading is more than her little mind can handle right now.
Yeah.
So she's got to do something else. And my son is off the charts ADHD. So he's like, my homework's been done for 3 days because they gave it to us a week in advance. There's nothing to do. They're not talking.
Worst apocalypse ever.
Right? There's no zombies. I don't have to gear up and shoot stuff.
No.
No need to get out the camo. It's just
Yeah.
boring.
What are you gonna do? So have you
Yeah.
guys been playing a lot of games at home?
We have. We've obviously played our normal D&D. We're getting ready to start doing some online type things because we don't usually do that. But I have a child who we can't see right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's 21 and works in retail and stuff, lives with his girlfriend. So he can't really come over here because of his brother. And
He's
so
been
we're going to
banished.
do. Yeah, he has. He's been banished. It's really, really awful.
Yeah.
But so we're going to do a Deadlands game online on Fantasy Grounds so that we can include people outside of our house. And then we've been playing a lot of, well, let's see, they have a Rifts game going, and I've been running PF2. We have a Starfinder game, of course, our D&D game. So we just kind of go back and forth. We really only get to play about once a week, if sometimes every other week, because we also have other things we do. We have played games I thought we'd never play. So I have this we'll call it a habit of collecting board games every time I go to a convention. Like it's nothing for me to bring home 5 or 6 new yellow games from the
Yeah.
booth at Gen Con. And
The shelf of
sometimes,
shame.
oh, it's bad. It's terrible. I'm just like, oh, this looks so cute. I've got to own it. So one of the things that I picked up, and people hate me at if they can, or if they want to, but remember a while back the Crossmaster game that was really popular?
What
It
was
had
it?
little chibi Crossmaster. It had little chibi people. It was based on like the Dofu cartoon or whatever. Um,
I am not,
I
but I am
okay.
also
Well,
not an avid
it's a board game.
tabletopper. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's a board game, and I bought like the arena, and I bought the big quest box. So I basically bought everything possible that you could do to play this, and then we didn't open it. So just now during this pandemic, we've opened it. The same goes for the Harry Potter Funko Verse game. They have
Okay.
like a or Disney Villains. It's the first time we actually got around to playing some of these games that I bought ages ago. And then we've got some little ones too that we've played that we've really enjoyed. Like we picked up at the very beginning of the pandemic the sushi games, like Sushi Roll or whatever it is.
Oh, is that the one where you have to grab the pieces with chopsticks?
Yeah, well, that I think that's how the app goes if you're playing a video game, but there's like an actual board game with it,
Uh huh.
and you have to collect matching pieces of sushi in order to get points, and the person with the most points
So
wins.
I played a game. I mean, it was pre-apocalypse, where there's a bowl with pieces in it, and someone would hold up a card, and you'd have to grab the piece that was
Oh,
displayed. But
yeah,
everybody has to do it at the same time. So
at the same time, so
yeah.
you're kind of fighting each other with the chopsticks. Yeah,
Yes.
I've seen that one. We just I don't know, we've played a lot of board games, and it amazes me that we have so many we hadn't played. Like I
Mhm.
don't think I realized how many board games I had that we had never played until we started looking for something to do. Occupying the children. Honestly, the first month and a half of the pandemic was really easy because Animal Crossing came out, and that was
Yeah.
pretty much everybody's life. We were like, "What pandemic? We're living just fine." It was terrible. But
Turnips. How much are your turnips?
yes, so many turnips. It was bad. I got so addicted to Animal Crossing. I got a second Switch so I could have a second island. I am ashamed of myself. I mean, bad, really
I
bad.
never got into it. We do have a Switch here somewhere,
We've got
but
like 9 of them. It's ridiculous.
it's kind of funny because a lot of my friends were playing it, but my wife, like a friend here and there was playing it, so she would get these weird posts or comments, and not like understand what was going on. And I was like, oh
That's
no,
fair.
that's. Eventually, she figured it out. Like, oh, Animal
Right.
Crossing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a huge thing. I mean, it still is. We still check on them every now and again, but I basically binged it just to stay sane. And then, one day you wake up and you're like, I don't even know why I wasted so like 400 hours into this game. You're like, why am I still doing this? I'm just gonna set that down and find
Yeah.
something productive to do. We
Yeah.
planted a garden. We bought a ping pong table. We built a fire pit. I mean, now we just run out of things to do.
Before you know it, there's going to be an expansion on the house. You just turn into a full-on castle.
We thought about it, like seriously. We were like, we could just expand to another porch or build a greenhouse onto the side of the house. And that's when we realized it was time to stop.
Yeah.
You find other things to do.
We got a puppy. That's what we did. Like, actually,
Oh,
the same
that's
day,
smart.
like everything went bad with my Facebook, we actually got a puppy. So,
Aw,
and and basically, I was like, you know what? I don't think we're gonna have a better time to get a dog than now when we're all kind of
probably
home all the
not.
time, and puppies require a lot of time. And it still took us like 4 months to get one. If
Wow.
Yeah, well, at first I was like, well, maybe we'll just get a breeder, go to a breeder, and I was like, maybe we should rescue.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then like,
Rescues are better.
yeah, so we went with the rescue, and my wife and daughter took over the legwork, and I
Mm,
think they were like putting in all for puppies, and I was like, well, a young dog or young adult or juvenile will be fine. They
fair.
need a home too,
That's
and
true.
but they did find a puppy. We have this Shar-Pei Mastiff
Oh, you got a
mix.
wrinkly dog.
Yeah, she's got this wrinkly thing that looks like a kind of like a arrow or a triangle on her forehead. That's
That's
white,
cute.
and she's like 21 weeks now, and
Oh, wow. Yeah,
yeah,
we didn't do puppies. We've already got two. We've got two dogs. One is dying of cancer. And it's honestly a miracle because at the beginning of this all, she went down really bad, and we had to take her to the vet, and this big huge expense. And the vet said she wasn't going to live, and we should have him out to put her down because we wanted to. If we were going to put her down, we wanted to do it here at the house because she's been with us for longer than some of the kids have been alive. And we brought her home, and we spent a week what we thought was saying goodbye, and then she sort of perked up. She still has cancer, she's still dying, but her quality of life thus far is okay.
yeah,
I mean, she sleeps a lot, but she still hops for her treat, and we're
yeah,
like, well, until she gets to a point where we feel her quality of life is not good enough, then there's not much point in doing this. We just felt like murder rather than help. So she's still with us. And then um we have a little Sheltie. So who's about the most worthless dog. I mean, honestly, I love her to death. Her name is Zumi. So my friend Margaret does fly ball with her dog Joey, and I really wanted to do fly ball, which it's a dog sport.
uh-huh.
And so I went out and I got a Sheltie, for specifically for this particular sport. And the point of the sport is the dogs run at this board, the springboard, they spring off it, catch a ball, and run back. And it's like a race. And it's just a really cool dog thing if you're into that, right? Well, I got the one dog on the planet that has zero interest in playing fetch. She won't catch a ball, let alone bring it back to me. So I now have a dog I got for a very specific purpose that is
Yeah,
completely useless for that purpose. She's cute. I mean, she's a small little miniature lassie looking dog. And
yeah,
of course, we love her and we'll keep her forever because we're not those kind of people. But at the same time, I'm like, well, this is how do I have the only dog that doesn't play fetch? We have a house full of kids that want to play nothing more than to play fetch with a dog. And the one dog is too old to do it anymore. And the little dog is just no. And she's only 3, so we've got quite a long time of the no fetch dog.
yeah. She's not an athlete. It's not her thing.
But you know what? She is. She'll run around and jump 4 feet high in the air trying to bark at something, but
Uh,
catch the ball? No,
no.
no interest. I've tried everything. I keep hoping that just magically one day, when we got the ping pong table, the kids would hit the ball and she would jump up and grab the ball, run away with it, drop it, and then run off. Like that's the closest we've ever gotten her to playing fetch. I don't know what she could. It was an impressive leap. It was an impressive catch, but she couldn't go past that.
Yeah, so our last dog would play fetch, but when he was done, he would take whatever using the fetch and take it somewhere and go lay down with it. to let
This
you
is
know,
mine.
yeah, this game is done.
my big dog, when she was small, she has this thing where she hops, and she's a big dog. Like she's, I don't know, 60, 70 pounds before she started losing all the weight. But she would catch the ball and she would bring it back because she loved to play fetch. But she gets so excited, she'd be doing this,
Yeah.
hopping up and down, and you couldn't get the ball from her. She was just trying to get you to take it, but she wouldn't stay still. It's
It's like,
hilarious.
why won't you take this ball?
We,
Dog
we
things.
have dysfunctional pets, dysfunctional children. It's just a dysfunctional household. It's the way it's meant to be, I think.
Yeah, so Brian in the chat is playing fetch with my dog. She never brings it back either. Yeah, this. So the
It's a
dog we have.
game for them.
Yeah. Well, this one too is like the puppy. Like you go, I'll have the stick and go to play with her with the stick, but she doesn't go after the stick. She goes after your hand.
Oh
So,
no, that's not good. My old dog has gotten to the point where we kind of chuck treats in her general direction because
yeah,
she's deaf and she's hard of seeing too.
yeah.
So she can't quite tell where the treat is. So sometimes she'll nip your hand. Do you
Oh
ever
yeah.
feel bad for having conversations like this on your live chat? Like, I'm pretty sure no one wants to hear about
Not
my
really.
dogs and my kids. Okay, all right. I just thought I'd check in and remind us that we are not sitting in my living room right now, and we are technically.
So it's part of it. I mean, if I ever have a guest on who has a weird pet, then that's like I think people pretty much know that's all we're going to talk about.
Is talking about the weird
Yeah,
pet.
like
That's probably fair.
Holly Conrad is in the pigeons and keeps pigeons. I'm like, yeah, we're not
Oh,
talking
what?
about D and
Wow,
D at all.
that's crazy.
It's
Pigeons.
pigeons,
How neat is that?
and then
That's cool. I keep
that's
children. We have 6 of them.
yeah,
7 if you count the grandchild.
that's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of
We
kids.
we just replaced ourselves and figured that was good enough.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. So
Funny.
when do you get the grandchild to start gaming?
Well, he's 2, so he's got some dice, and he thinks Dwarven Forge is Legos. I got him a big,
Yeah,
fluffy dice that
yeah.
he rolls around. But he does when we play, he sits at the table and rolls the dice for us. That's his favorite thing to do. So I imagine, like my children, he will sort of learn by osmosis until he's old enough to have some kind of small familiar character or something like that.
Now all your kids game?
Yes, every one of them.
I only got a 50% ratio, and like my wife
Aw.
started gaming recently. She's tried it a couple times over the last couple years, but recently she's actually started getting into it and gaming with us. But it took a long
Yeah, I
time.
remember I spent some time with her at PAX U. She was really sweet, and she was like, I just don't get it. I don't get into it, but I support the thing he's passionate about. I was like, you're so sweet.
Yeah. Well, so apparently, so she also has autoimmune disease now, and so she stopped
Oh,
working. She's had
all
both her
sympathy.
all both of her hips replaced. So now I got a captive audience, and she's got nothing better to do. Nah, like
Oh, that's terrible. Hi,
so.
honey, you're trapped here. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, so no, it started with like us trying to do a family game, which she was interested in doing that because the family, and
Mhm.
my son was into it, my daughter wasn't, um, and we did that for a little bit, and then um, she'd gone to Origins with me and painted a beholder.
I love painting minis. I
At one
have
of the
way too many.
paintings, which she really enjoyed that. So she's like more recently been slowly getting into it.
You know what? There's never a time that you are too old or anything else. I'm gonna tell you, my mother-in-law, she's in her 70s and she just started learning how to paint minis. And like she LARPed for the first time last year.
Oh
So
wow!
yeah, like it's awesome. For Christmas this year, she gave us,
Mhm.
or last year, she gave us her first painted miniatures, and she did
Yeah,
a great job. Like she's really having a good time learning to do the things her kids do, and she seems to be enjoying it. So I don't think you're ever too old to start a new thing or enjoy a new thing.
yeah. So she's kind of self conscious, and I think like RPGs are really hard for people that are self conscious,
It's
especially
true.
the role playing aspects of it. But it's she's getting into it. We started. She's in a couple D&D games now and
Nice.
an Expanse game. So we've been having fun with it.
There you go. Expanse. That's
So
good.
there is always hope, and because people always ask us too, like, how do you get your significant other into gaming? I'm like, you really don't. They either want to do it or they don't.
Well, that's like what I get all the time. Every time somebody asks me, and when I finish my book, it's in there. But is how do you get your kids to game? My kids won't game. I'm like, well, first of all, it helps if you start young by ignoring them. I mean, that's really the best way
Yeah,
to do it. No, no, you can't play this with us. You're not quite old enough. You got to wait till you're 4, till you're 6, whatever your age is, because as soon as they can't do it, they want to do it,
yeah,
and that's I think a big thing. But I mean, our house, I've been in games, as long as the kids have been alive. So I think they were raised around it. There was never an expectation that they would do anything but that.
yeah.
Of course they would be gamers. It's just what they want to do. That's that they're so immersed in it. Our house is decorated in it. We game all the time. We play video games, board games, D&D, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, my son is a casual. He likes to drop in and out of games, and then I don't. It's for him too. It depends. It's weird. Like he's got his one cousin that he loves the game with, who is significantly younger than him. Because my son is, I guess he's gonna be 20 this year, and
That makes you feel old, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. And then my nephew, who's in a couple games with us that we play with, is like 13. But my kids are much older than all the other cousins, but they've always tried to engage with them. So he really likes
Cute.
gaming with the one nephew.
Sometimes it's less about disliking the game and more about disliking the parent style or the person style. Like
Yeah,
the kids are more into the new things, and kids are more into things that appeal to them and that they can relate to. Whereas like the older individuals, especially if they're OSR gamers, are more into what they want and what they grew up with. So you got to find that connecting spot. Sometimes there's too many rules when playing with the adults, so they rather like to play with the kids because they can change the rules as much as they like as they go around, as they often do in other games.
yeah. I feel like with my son, like we tried introducing him in 4E, and he just wasn't really into it. And then like I was like, all right, it's not his thing, whatever. And
Sure.
then we were starting up a Mutants and Masterminds game, and he's like, "Can I play a purple ape from
Ah,
space?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, you
sure.
can." Then he was sold. So,
That's great. I
my,
love it.
my daughter, I tried getting her in with the family game, and I was like, "All right, well, she's in like at that time she was in the Monster High dolls." So I was like, "Oh, we
Mm-hmm.
can totally do this. We can make a Monster High character for sure." And it was funny. I figured she would be like into the role playing because she still kind of played with dolls.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing she really seemed interested was in she was playing a bard. So when she would cast spells, she would use the spell cards like they were like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh
Oh, that's
cards,
great.
which she's never played either of. So
That's funny. Yeah, I find that whatever you have kind of tends to work, because I went and bought all the Pony Finder stuff for my daughter and my son, who's more into my daughter's hobbies. And they just thought it would be so cool to be able to play ponies and everything else. And I went and I bought all the stuff. And actually I got a license for Pony Finder to create adventures with
yeah,
my company for children, for ponies, basically for my kids. And it turned out that they weren't as interested as they thought they were. They'd rather play the same games the adults are playing.
yeah.
So
Who knew?
who knew? Yeah, all that trouble.
Uh,
But it turns out that the Pony Finder adventures sold pretty well for us. So in the end, it all worked out.
well, that's good at least. So
It's
who's
something.
usually the dungeon master in your house or the game master?
Usually it's myself or my husband. More often my husband than myself. I tend to be so ridiculously busy. I don't have as much time.
Yeah.
I'm running 2 games right now, off and on, and one of them is Amanda Hammond's Pathfinder adventure. What is that? I think it's the Hell Knight Hill adventure. That's what it is for PF2,
Cool.
and it's pretty cool. I don't usually run pre-made adventures, but it's been a long time since I've had time to do my own. So the second thing I'm doing is Starfinder, and I'm running my own pre-written adventure that's due out, I think, in October. So there's a Starfinder adventure path, and I wrote book 1 for it. So I've been running my kids through it to play
There,
test it,
there you go.
put them to work.
You're working. The whole family is
That's
working.
right. That's right. My time is now a tax write-off when I'm playing games.
Yeah, there you go. Uh, so I take it you're liking Starfinder. We did on Save Our Dice. We did a season of Starfinder. which it was fun. My only complaint is the GM never leveled us up, and
Hmm.
I hate that, and it seems to happen often in stream games where like they get so immersed in playing the game and the story, but I'm like, there's still a game part of it too, you know. So I like to
I
level up and do the things.
I haven't honestly played a lot of Starfinder. I'm not gonna lie. When I wrote that Starfinder adventure, I had never played Starfinder. I had read some. I mean,
Yeah.
I write in games all the time that I've never played though. That's what I do. I'm a game designer. So I've written in Savage Worlds more often than I've played in it. And the same can be said for other off things. But Starfinder, I had gotten all the books. I had read a lot. I had, you know, talked development back and forth with people, but I'd never actually played a game for it. And I the sole reason I got into Starfinder is I said, "And can I make a space Roomba?" And they said yes, and here we are. And
Yeah.
that was so fun and so exciting to me. I'm like, yes, space Roomba, and I want to play a little goblin that rides the space Roomba.
Oh, we played in a Skittermander game,
Oh, I bet that was fun.
and
Goblins are my favorite, but Skittermanders are a close second.
that yeah, Ted's got them all hanging up in our studio,
Hmm.
the toys,
Yeah,
but
we've got the little plushies. They're all over the
yeah.
house. Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed though because the GM was just being too nice at the end. Like we were just failing at everything, and I was
Aw.
like, oh, we should have all been spaced for sure.
It should have been a TPK,
Yeah,
and we know it.
we know it.
Oh,
Yeah.
shame. That's
But
funny.
one of the fun things was like there was like crates or boxes or something. I was like, oh, this is amazing. And like there was like killer robots. So in order to hide from them, we got into the boxes and turned them upside down.
Oh,
So
nice.
so we're moving around like Toy Story style in the boxes to sneak around the ship.
That's wonderful. That's too funny. Yeah, funny enough, I put some boxes in an adventure I was running recently, and I thought that you know the so they were running getting this cargo or something, and I thought that they would protect the boxes, or things would play out a certain way, and players never cease to surprise you. So this is supposed to be like valuable cargo. They need to get it as part of their job. If they want to advance to anywhere, they have to get this safely from point A to point B. And when they started getting fired at, they used it for a shield.
Yeah.
Really, guys? Really? Yeah.
Well, you can always find another job, but
There's always another job, right? That's it. Or like I think one of them climbed up on top of the boxes and was using it as a vantage point to snipe people. I thought that was pretty cool. The adventures never go as you plan them, and more so when you're playing with children. Children will derail absolutely everything every time.
that is one of the things I like about playing with
It's
uh,
so fun.
children and also new gamers too. Like new
Hmm.
gamers that aren't being heavily influenced by more experienced gamers are a lot of fun because they don't know the rules. So they're just
Hmm.
like, can I do this or can I do that? And I'm like,
That's one
yes,
thing
you
I
can try
love.
that.
That's one thing I love about children is that they have such vivid, wide imaginations, and they have not been out in the world being told no so often that they no longer think of outside the box things.
Yeah.
So I find that the average adult player just sort of thinks inside the box, inside the books, inside of the things that they know they can do, or at least not very far outside of that. Kids will have the craziest, wildest, most out there things that they want to do, and you're just like, yeah, why not? Let's make it happen. It's great. Sometimes not so much, but a lot of times there are things that are just so entertaining, and they become parts of our ongoing family jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's like I find like there's like two things that seems universal with kids, and that is creating the menagerie,
Hmm.
and they always want to steal stuff.
Yeah, it's
It's
true.
like it's all about pushing. I think the stealing stuff is just about pushing boundaries that they can't push in the real world.
Well,
Uh,
I think too, some things are competitive. Like it's a big thing, especially I've noticed to kill each other. They want to. I stab my brother in the back while he's not looking. Look, I understand he made you mad this morning because he ate the last Pop Tart, but that's no reason to assassinate his character. Okay, like you can't do that.
yeah, well, I haven't experienced as much as that, but I'm not playing with siblings either. So
Yeah, we don't. I think we get very little of that in comparison to probably what some other families might, but we
yeah,
do certainly have it. I've actually I'm very blessed. I have a bunch of little geeky intellectuals for children. So I see, for example, other people that are virtual schooling and they're complaining and they're like, my kid's under the table refusing to do their homework. You know, so and so is wailing and she doesn't want to go to school. My kids are like, oh man, it's early. They get up, they go to the table, they manage themselves, they do their homework, everything's turned in on time. They ask if they can get a snack. I mean, yes, it's frustrating to have to be their tech support all day long, but
Yeah.
I have my kids are just so well behaved. That's like this whole pandemic. We're so blessed because there is so many of us, we're still getting social interaction. It may not be the social interaction we want, but we're still getting it and we have each other to spend time with and game with and stuff like that.
I
And
mean,
everybody's getting along fine.
imagine all this, when if we were kids, there'd be nothing.
No, no, we'll be outside
Maybe,
playing with sticks if we're lucky. I mean, like, what are you?
yeah,
Yeah, no,
maybe
that's
some string
crazy.
and a couple cans, like
There you
our best
go.
hope.
We'd be writing letters. I remember as a
Yeah.
kid, there was a period of time in which I had to be at home and I wasn't allowed to leave. And all I could do was write letters, you know, and that's what we would do. You'd be writing letters to your friends that you couldn't see in person, which I think is a lost art in and of itself. But imagine not having the internet anymore or phones, or imagine like the flu pandemic in the 1900s, like what that would have been like. Oh, no, thank you.
Yeah, that all would be quite crazy.
Yes. Glad that we're at least in the tech age living through this.
So, I mean, thankfully for that, our kids have options, and they can connect. They have FaceTime, and
Yes.
these other things that they can use.
It's
So,
true. Well, and and you know, it's funny though because I know for a lot of people they're probably doing a lot of that, but our family isn't so much. You know, my daughter does a little, but for the most part, I don't think we were very outwardly social prior to this,
mhm.
so it hasn't as affected. We were already. I think we left home to go grocery shopping. Once in a while, we'd go to the arcade or a movie, but for the most part, life hasn't changed a whole lot for us. Like, I mean, it's stressful. It's incredibly stressful knowing that there's this like deadly virus out there. But, and I really miss conventions and the kids can't play with their like neighbor friends and things. And that's certainly sad for them. But we're very lucky that they weren't out all that social to begin with. So we're blessed in that, I think. I can't imagine. I know that I have friends that have like these very social butterfly, sports orientated children, and they were losing their minds. So
we we're like 50-50, right? So like my daughter is very social oriented, and like I
hmm
want to have sleepovers. Why can't I have a sleepover?
hmm
I'm not sick. They're not sick. And, a lot of that. And where my son is kind of is a gamer on the computer all the time. Anyways, like all of his interaction with
exactly.
his friends are via even the ones that live in the same town with him.
Well, my son has friends that live just a couple houses down, and he's like, I haven't seen them in 6 weeks anyway. We just play on Xbox. I don't
Yeah.
what my daughter she really does miss being able to go out and play with friends because she's only 11 and
Yeah.
so she normally is playing with the neighbor kids out riding bikes and playing volleyball or whatever, so she does miss that, but I have to say she has not whined nor complained at all. She's been very positive about it, and in fact I think they all just take it very seriously. The downside to that is when school started, my son, he's 13, and he's kind of, when boys turn 13, they sort of have that little bit of attitude they get for a while that makes you, I don't know, want to choke the life out of them sometimes. I mean, you love them very much, but you also kind of want to choke them.
Yeah.
And he's
Well,
got that
the
attitude.
teens and tweens are like the transition.
It is. It's that
Like,
transition, and he's still very well behaved, especially for an ADHD teenager. Like he doesn't say no. He's not violent and nothing like that. But he does have sort of a little know-it-all kind of attitude going on. And so he starts school, and I would have expected him to be sad or missing his friends or like, oh, I want to chat with my friends. No, no, no. My son is the one going, excuse me, Mr. So and so. You do understand the point of a mask is to put it on your face, right? Not you know that you're sending them out in the hallway and to breathe the last person out there's air without a mask on. Do you see how that might not work? I'm like, You can't do that, honey. You've got to stop that. And the teachers, God bless them, they took it in stride. They, one of them was like, well, the principal says we can do this, so this is what we're doing. And another one, was like, well, it's a good thing you're not here or something like that. I'm like, and I'm going, this is embarrassing. You've got to stop. And he's like, I just want them to do it right. My friends are in that class. They might die. I'm like, well, they have their opinion and you have yours.
Yeah.
And maybe let's be a little kinder about it. I'm like, this is the same kid that corrects the teacher for like, math and reading and stuff too. When he was in second grade, the teacher sent me an email and she's like, so your son corrected me in class today, and I had to laugh because I asked him for the definition of a word and he gave it to me. And I said, no, it means this. And he goes, no, it means both of those things. You should go look that up. And I did. And he was right. And I didn't know what to say. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? We don't either. He's like, you are not alone.
We have a nephew that's like that, like especially in the earlier grades where he would like end up co-teaching.
Mm-hmm.
He would do all of his work, and then next thing you know, he's helping the other students with theirs.
I did that a lot. I was like the teachers in second grade. I didn't really have anything to do with the second graders because I went to various other classes. I was bussed off to bright flight places, and so when I was in the class, I mostly helped other kids with their homework.
So I didn't have that problem at all. I think I have a bunch of learning disabilities that were never diagnosed, or they weren't diagnosed the way they are nowadays. Because
Yeah.
I see them in my daughter, and she's
Hmm.
thankfully she gets all the proper diagnoses and gets the the education and planning that she needs.
And that's important. I think, back when I was going to school, there wasn't near the options that they have today or the help they have today. I was very fortunate. My teachers sort of took pity of me, and the school sort of built a curriculum around me, which is not something you see done today at all. But they also have more programs specifically for things like that. Like I have severe ADD, uh, really, really bad. But I intrigued my teachers because of how smart I was. And so I think that because I was entertaining, they were more inclined to help. Because I got bussed off to the high school from elementary to do like reading classes and stuff like that and various sciences, and I had a good time.
So
But
as we're kind of like delving into childhood and stuff, how old were you when you started gaming?
I think it's about 4.
That is
Young
really
enough
young.
young enough. Well, I mean, that's kind of the age I started mine at too.
Yeah.
There's a certain age in which you can tell a story to anybody. D&D can be like a choose your own adventure. So for my kids, um, I would tell them choose your own adventure type stories when they were little, and they would already be in the habit of picking what they thought the characters should be doing and things like that, and it just sort of grows with them. But I was certainly young enough that people had to roll the dice for me and things like that, but I was making the decisions, and then it evolved from there.
So then you came from a gaming household? I take it, obviously.
I came from an intellectual household. I knew how to read by the time I was 4,
Yeah.
so it was I was raised in a very interesting environment.
My parents were hippies.
I know. Mine we would call them intellectual hippies, I suppose. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were very interesting individuals, that's for sure.
Not of the intellectual variety at all.
Oh, mine were. And their friends were. So I was given free access to pretty much anything. Like nobody, there were no children's rules in my house. There was no, you can't watch this on TV. There was no, you can't read this book. There was none of that. Like I was building computers when I was in like first grade. They just, anything I could do, as long as I could do it myself, I was fine. And then we had intellectual friends that sort of took an interest. And then my grandfather actually taught me to read very young. So I was an only child until I was about 10. And then suddenly there was a lot of more kids that I had to take care of.
Yeah.
So I was kind of left to my own devices, and I was from an abusive household. So books and intellectual pursuits were what kept me sane. So I was sort of pushed in that direction naturally due to my environment. And
Oh.
yes, some of them were gamers. Like uh, they had, people that played D&D, old school D&D, and computer games. I remember doing a little coding in the stupid little computer game so I could, do this and jump with the space war, my little alien dude. For like my 5th birthday, I got a Commodore 64, and that was my best friend for the longest
Yeah.
time. But yeah, it was definitely an intellectual household, sort of a hippie intellectuals. Hard to explain.
No, not really. I mean, I feel like the hippies go in two different directions, and that's one of them.
Yeah, exactly. I know a lot of people think hippies though, and they're like, oh, they were just high all the time. Well, yeah, they were, but also there
Yeah,
were intellectual pursuits along with it.
they were philosophy high.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, and they were friends with a lot of, authors and, um, various intellectual areas in their lives. So I was certainly exposed to it quite a bit.
OMG Commodore and Joe in the comments. And that is some old school stuff. And
I know, I'm old,
when you could only get on the internet by murdering a robot.
right? Oh God, I hated that. I remember when I was young, we had party lines too, so it was even more of a nightmare trying to get on the internet with a party line. Oh my God, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Damn it, Karen, hang up the phone.
yeah.
Just want to get on the internet.
Yeah, you kids, you don't know how lucky you are these days.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's crazy. I'm sitting here with my like 1 gig internet, just thinking back on how bad dial up was. Dear God.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Well, and thankfully, in these times we do have it to turn to. So you said you started doing some virtual gaming with
Yeah,
with the
so
family.
starting to get into like using fantasy grounds and stuff like that to do some virtual gaming online. I haven't gotten so far that I feel like I want to go stream a game.
Yeah.
I'm still, I don't know. Like I said, I've thought about doing a podcast, but at the same time, I still get a little weirded out about these live streams. So
I think we all do to a certain
it's all
degree.
there. You can't edit it.
No.
Like I said a cuss word earlier, and no one can edit that out. It's just there for life. Yeah,
Well, there's also the beauty of not being able to edit as well, because that is like that is a whole thing.
it's true.
It's nice when it just gets lifted off your shoulders. Like, oh, I don't have to worry
You're
about
like,
this.
oh, well, I may have really badly bungled that up, but at least I don't have to edit it.
Yeah.
It's true. I could see that being very freeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we use Fantasy Grounds.
So Savage Worlds
And
Deadlands, is that what you guys are
yeah,
playing?
yeah, we're doing some Deadlands. We're starting, I think the first week of September was what we decided on. And we were going to start earlier, but so my husband is the one running that game, and he's got this whole perfectionism thing going on. So he's got Fantasy Grounds, and of course he's got Hero Lab to
Yeah.
for some of it, and then he wants to integrate Sirenscape into it, so he's using my Sirenscape account and trying to figure all that out. And I'm like, all right, well, you let me know when it's perfect, and then we'll
Yeah.
we'll be there.
Yeah, I've seen some people run that stuff, through the virtual tabletop and the Sirenscape and everything, and they just remind me of a conductor with an orchestra. It's like
Right.
too much. I mean, our group is we are pretty low key, so most of the time we just do theater of the mind type stuff.
It's because you're old. It's
It
okay. You
it,
can
it
admit
is
it.
probably because I'm old. I I would rather be playing than learning all the new technology.
Yeah, I love tech, so I'm a big fan of new things. Like, I really bad about collecting new tech. Like my new
Uh,
keyboard or my new computer that I had to get this strange new 2 screens in one laptop thing, or my always having the newest phone, or I don't know. I think my most recent purchase is my RGB key charging stand for my headphones, which is kind of neat. But there are so many things to learn about apps online. I've got to admit, even though I work for Lone Wolf, who has our own online app, which I love and use, the other ones out there, I haven't had time to invest into learning how to use. So obviously, in order to play all online, we need something to bridge the gap. So we have Hero Lab
yeah,
Online, but right now it's not a virtual tabletop. So we have to learn a virtual tabletop, and I feel like I probably should have done that by now. I'm a little ashamed that I haven't, but it just hasn't been something I've needed to do. I've poked around at it. Doug has been kind enough to give it to me in the past, and I've poked around at it, and I think it's really cool, and I recommend it to everybody. But actually, in use, I haven't had a chance to play with it until recently, and it's really cool how far they've come since the last time I just sort of poked around on it. So I think it'll be neat to learn that. But I think to some degree, the older we get, it's not so much that we're get off my lawn. It's
Yeah.
that we have too many things to learn, too many things to do. Like I have all my stuff to manage, all my family stuff to manage, my career to manage, and then to figure out how to use everything in the internet at the same time is just more time than what I would have had when I was, say, a teenager figuring all this out.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, even just learning new games is, is an endeavor, right? Because it's like, so yeah, all the time people are like, "Hey, you want to check out this game I did?" And it's like they hand me a 400-page book, and I'm like, "Not really."
Oh my god, I know.
It's
And that's I my struggle. It's a real struggle. Like we were sitting at the table the other day, and because I write for so many different platforms, like I've written for Dungeons and Dragons, I've written for Pathfinder, I've written for PF2, I've written for Starfinder, I've written for Savage Worlds, and it's now got to the point where I'm like, I think I might need to take a step back and just pick a genre or
yeah,
something, because I'm sitting at the table and I was trying to do something in PF2, I think is what he was running. Yes, we were doing PF2, and I kept trying to use PF1 rules. And then at some point, I made some kind of mistake and was like trying to make some kind of check that you only get in D&D. And I realized, thank God I don't live stream games, because I have gotten to the point my brain gets confused as to what game it's playing. And I'm sure no one wants to see that.
yeah.
Well, no faith in this designer now. I'm actually really good at my job, but when you're just sitting there and you're first of all only partially paying attention because there's a grandchild at your feet, but also you've just had so many that you're playing, and eventually all becomes mush in your brain, and you've got to really pick out which is which.
Yeah, so actually, Joe's just asking that question: How hard is it to write multiple genres?
It's not as hard as you would think it is, but there is some difficulty. So
I think multiple
I
rule sets is probably the harder thing.
the harder thing. So genres isn't so bad. I did struggle a little going from fantasy to Starfinder, and I will have to admit I'm very thankful for my editors to hopefully catch anything that I didn't. But it took me, when I first sat down to write this Starfinder adventure, it was on a real tight turnaround, and I wish I'd had more time, because I think towards the end I really did enjoy it, but I was on such a tight deadline I didn't have as much space as I would have liked to tweak and play with it. But when I first sat down, I kept thinking fantasy. So I'd be writing, like, say, the read alouds, and I'm like, this doesn't feel Starfindery. I'm not using magic and wands, but what am I missing? And someone actually had to say to me, just think of today's world. I mean, like, put a tablet in their hand and it's fun. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. I don't have computers or tablets in these read alouds. Like,
Mm.
we've got to add these things in to add the tech in. So once you wrap your mind around, okay, I just need to take today's things and put it in the story, it's not so bad. But it does, after so many years of writing fantasy only, it does take it a minute to click. I think the harder part is the rules. Um, when I first sit down to start a new project, for whatever rule set I'm using, I find I struggle a little bit getting back into that if I haven't done it in a while. So if I've been writing Pathfinder for a while and I go to D&D, like when I did Into the Dark, uh, for the Adventurers League, that one was a little. I struggled with it and had to get some help just trying to get the mindset into it. And then once I get there, I'm fine. I'm like, right, it's all clicking again. I remember all this. It's okay. But it's almost like a refresher course each time I switch to a new rule set. I'm fine with it once I get started, and then I don't do it for a little while because I'm on a different project. I'll forget bits and pieces. But like riding a bike, it all comes back. You just got to sit down and focus and make yourself focus so it all comes back.
Like even for us shooting videos and just talking about D&D, it's like Ted's got 4 editions of rules rattling around in his head. I've got
Mm-hmm.
5, and it all just kind of starts to blur together after a while.
It's true. And like my favorite edition was always second edition. And I know some people will scream at me that, oh my God, you love the Thaco edition. You know what? Yes. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. It's my favorite. Mostly I like the story there best, I think. Not so much the rules as the story. But and I still have times when, like, I can remember, page 101 was important. I remember the page numbers in the book. I played that edition so much. So it certainly all stays in your head, because I haven't played second edition in a very long time. But if I really sit down and start thinking about it, I can recall the rules. And it's sort of the same with I think any other system too.
Yeah, it also depends too, like where you start it. So sometimes that is like, like they're more clear to you because it's kind of ingrained, and you remember
Yes,
the nostalgia is
right.
there from playing
And that was my teenage years
it. Yeah.
too, like, late teenage years, early 20s, second edition was the thing. I remember actually being so angry when we had to switch because we had just all these box sets and all
Yeah.
these books and everything. And I'm like, no, no, I like this one. I don't want to learn something new. It's not okay. I
Ted was
remember
like that too.
I
I,
remember writing 3E sucks at the top of one of my character sheets. I learned to like it. It was fine. Nobody panic. It was okay. I never did get into fourth edition though. I couldn't. I could
I
not do
drug
that.
I drug all of our groups into each each edition, kicking and screaming.
Kicking and screaming. Like
Yeah.
why? Why do we have to learn new? We hate new things.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, it's
So,
true.
well, we
That's
are
funny.
past the hour mark, and I don't want to hold you hostage here.
I
So,
appreciate it.
final words before we head on out.
Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and remember that we can have differences of opinion and still be kind to each other. I think that's the biggest message for the world right now. It has nothing to do with gaming. Game responsibly, be kind in your games, you know.
Perfect. It's a great thought to end on. Thanks for stopping by. I always love to chat with you. And until next time, everyone, stay nerdy.
Bye.